mean, everyone is, so please help me welcome four very special guests. First up, we have executive producers and co-creators Johnny Katz and Julian Murphy. And next up, the man without whom there could be no Merlin, Colin Morgan. Awesome. Okay, and now someone you may be familiar with from a little show called, I don't know, Buffy. Please welcome Anthony Head. They love you. All right, so the first question is for Johnny and Julian. So, what was the genesis of this series? Why did you decide to do this from a younger perspective?
Julian and I were always interested in the legend of Merlin and Arthur and the Round Table. And we were making quite a few other high-concept shows, and we kind of felt that Merlin was ready for a sort of reinterpretation for a 21st century audience. And I guess we were talking to quite a few writers, and Jake was a writer that we were working with at the time, and we just talked about why don't we roll back the clock, so let's see Merlin as a young magician in a time where magic was banned. And so that was sort of the first idea, wasn't it? We just started talking about a young Merlin. And just as we started playing around with that idea, then we thought, why don't we bring in Arthur, why don't we bring in Morgana, why don't we bring in all of those characters from the legend, but sort of roll back time, so let's sort of recreate these characters sort of before they were famous, and subvert those expectations so that, King Arthur is Prince Arthur, instead of being this sort of, the person of legend, he's a bit of an idiot. And then we, wanted to play around with, that obviously, our memories of Merlin are this guy with a tall hat and a long beard. And we thought, let's make him younger and let's make him sort of just a sort of a teenager, coping with being a teenager, but also realising that he has this extraordinary destiny. So that was our starting point, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think we enjoy telling stories about people growing up and coming of age. And for us, it was more interesting to see Merlin as a young innocent who develops these powers and has to cope with this huge destiny. And to see Arthur as a bit of an idiot, to be honest, as Johnny said, a braggart and a bully who has to learn to be a great king. So for us, that was a more interesting story to tell in many ways, and I think it's been a very enjoyable one to tell.
It's also very fun just playing around with subverting the expectations of all the Arthurian legends. So beginning the story of the Lady in the Lake, the story of Excalibur, introducing Lancelot, in surprising ways. Again, that to us felt like really exciting. And once we developed these ideas of sort of rolling back, and telling the story before they were famous, we suddenly felt we'd tapped into something interesting, because, as program makers, there's nothing worse than sitting in a room with a group of writers with a large plate of biscuits and realising that all you're doing is eating biscuits and not coming up with any ideas. And actually what we did with Merlin was that when we tapped into this idea, we actually stopped eating the biscuits and came up with lots of really interesting ideas. So that was the game.
It's not true, we still eat a lot of biscuits.
Okay, so the show is airing in 180 countries. That's insane. So what's been the highlight of the experience for all of you?
I think for us it's singing Japanese and Chinese, which is very entertaining.
Not enough biscuits as well.
No, speaking seriously, I'm sure we'd all say this, it's incredibly refreshing to make a programme that's watched by so many people. It's a real privilege, and it rarely happens. And to come to places like this where everyone is so passionate about television and what they're watching is incredibly refreshing and, fantastic.
And I think that our aim with Merlin was always, and Julian and I, when we create TV programmes, is that we don't make them just for a British audience. We hope that they will work truly and be an international and work throughout the world. And the fact that it sold to 180 territories was a huge thrill for us, because obviously we worked on the show for 3 years before it actually screened. And there was this terrible moment at the press screening where we'd been in this complete kind of production bubble of making the show, and Julian and I were standing backstage at the IMAX at Waterloo, which is this massive, massive screen. It was completely sold out, and Julian and I turned to each other and went, just, God, please like this show, because it's either going to be really good or we're just going to fail spectacularly. And fortunately everybody liked it, so we were hugely relieved.
And what about you two?
Definitely the Japanese sub, has been a bit of a highlight. Generally the language ones is unbelievable, and also the international response that we're getting is fantastic. You're getting letters from all over the world, and it shows that the program is working, that it is touching I guess the hearts and the humour of so many different nations. So it's exciting, and to be here for the first time is amazing. So thanks for being here.
The other thing is, I think that Uther in Italian was very nice, wasn't it?
My voice actually doesn't go that low. But the I love the Japanese. Yeah. I'm very scary, I have to say.
They told me, the French told me that the guy that does my voice in Merlin is the same one that does the voice for Malcolm in the Middle. So
I actually overcalled the actors because they always forget to wear radio mics, and one day I heard them, I think it was Katie talking, and she was going, yeah, I can't my Italian voice, I just sound so much older.